What's good, everybody, and welcome to another weekly watch list. As you all know, earnings season has started off, and we have a jam-packed earnings schedule this week. We have some heavy hitters this week, such as Tesla, Meta, Microsoft, IBM, UPS, MasterCard, Apple, Visa, ExxonMobil, CVX. They're going to be reporting earnings this week. So make sure you understand it when it comes to the sympathy trades, you are paying attention to these earnings. Not only that, but the economic calendar you're going to have to pay attention to for this week because we do have an FOMC interest rate decision. Jay Powell going to be speaking this week, and this is going to be happening on Wednesday. Whether or not they're going to cut rates or not, now with the new administration, this decision is going to be very important, and we know the market is going to react to it. On Thursday, we have GDP, and then we also have PCE on Friday, as well as a couple of Fed speakers. So it's going to be a very volatile week considering the earnings considering the earnings are going to be released, as well as the FOMC and GDP and other economic events that are going to be going on. So now let's take a look at the indices, and then let's take a look at sectors and then the stocks I'm going to be paying attention to this week. So we have SPY. I have the daily chart, the 3-day chart that's going to be opening up on Monday. We know we're going to have a new weekly candle. 2-week chart that opened up last week, so we don't have a new 2-week candle. And we have a new 3-week candle that is going to be opening up this week. So make sure you are looking for actionable signals on the 3-week chart. And then I have the monthly chart up as well. We know last week, a crazy rally, and we know we created a lot of gaps. So if the price wants to retrace to the downside, and if we want to get a potential pullback, I'm pretty sure everyone right now is anticipating if we do get a pullback, it's going to be a higher low and looking to buy that dip to take it back to the upside. So if we were to get some retracement down, you do have a couple of downside targets at 605.36, a gap fill that gets filled at 603.05. And then you have another, if we were to trigger a 322 reversal on the week, I doubt that, but you have a gap from 598.67 to 597.58. Now we know that SPY hit an all-time high, or we made a new all-time high, but QQQ didn't yet. So QQQ still has a little bit of way to go. Potential outside month candidate. So if we do get, let's say, a 3-2 up on the day, or if the market is bullish this week, then we're looking for that outside month to get tagged. Right now, we did go outside day to the downside. If we were to trigger a 3-2 down on the day, you do have a gap fill to the downside. You are currently a shooter on the 3-day, but you are an outside 3-week. So possibly setting up for a 3-2 up on 3-week candle. We know it's going to take at least 3 weeks for that to play out. So still an outside month potential. So just keep that in mind, but we know we have earnings this week, and that could lead to a lot of things. So we'll see what happens with QQQ. DIA, I also potential outside month candidate. You did trigger a 3-2 up on the 2-week chart last week, and you are an outside 3-week as well, setting up for a potential 3-2 up on the 3-week chart. If you were to trigger a 3-2 up on the 3-week chart, the target would be outside month. So let's see what they want to do with that. But just like with the other indices, you do have a couple of gaps to the downside that if we want to retrace, they can target to the downside. Last but not least is going to be IWM. IWM also went outside 3-week to the upside. You are still below the previous month 50%. So it's still rejecting there. But you did trigger a 3-2 up on the 2-week chart, outside 3-week, 3-2 reversal on the weekly chart. So let's see if we can get above the 50% of the month for IWM, but you do have a nice hammer that you can pay attention to. And of course, we do have some downside gaps to pay attention to as well. Now, let's go on to the couple of the sectors I'm going to be paying attention to this week. The first sector I'm going to be paying attention to is XLE. XLE is an inside week, potential CCRP to the downside or continuation back to the upside. So we're looking for either a 2-1-2 up on the week or a 2-1-2 down on the week. Still an inside month, but we know that the 3-week chart and the 4-week chart did trigger a 2-2 reversal to the upside. So let's see what they want to do with XLE. Are we going to get a pullback? Are we going to target this downside gap at $88.79? Or is this just a TTO to go back up and potentially trigger 2 up on the month? We'll see what they want to do with that. Next after XLE is going to be XLP. I really looking at like XLP going into this week. You did trigger a 3-2 up on a 3-day chart and a hammered 3-day. 2-1-2, no. 2-2 reversal on the weekly that did not go to target yet. You're still an inside 2-week and you're a hammer on a 3-week. So ideally, I am looking for that 2-2 reversal on a 3-week chart to set up for continuation to the upside. You do have a nice gap at $79.14 and $79.30 if we were to get a rotation in consumer staples this week. Of course, 2-2 reversal on the weekly chart if we're actually going to be going back down. Next is going to be XLV. Congrats if you guys have been swinging XLV. We have been in this for a couple of weeks or so. We finally started to get our breakout. Really liking this 3-week candle. You have a strong candle on the 3-week that did break a 212 reversal on the 3-week, but did not go to target yet. And you're setting up to potentially trigger a 2 up on the month. So if they're still rotating into healthcare, we're looking for this gap fill at 146.25 to 146.74, and then to possibly trigger 2 up on the month. Currently, full time for continuity to the upside. And last but not least is going to be utilities. Really liking utilities on the 3-week chart. You are a 1-3, setting up for possibly a 1-3-2 up. That's what I'd like to see happen, but we know we'll play what we know to be true. Either a 3-2-2 continuation on the weekly chart or a 3-2-2 reversal on the weekly chart. You're an inside 3-day, so let's see which side they trigger, whether to the downside or to the upside. But the daily chart is giving us a 1-3. So possibly, let's see if we can get that 1-3-2 up to trigger 2 up on the week and to trigger that 1-3-2 up on the 3-week chart. Okay, so those are going to be the sectors that I'm going to be focusing on. It's going to be energy, consumer staples, healthcare, and utilities. Now let's go into a couple of the tickers I'm going to be paying attention to this week. And the first one is going to be Pepsi. Really liking Pepsi right now. You did trigger a 2-1-2 up on the weekly. You have a potential trendline break on the daily chart as well that you are poking your head out. So let's see if we can get that follow through to the upside. 3-week chart is a hammer on the 3-week, setting up for a 2-2 reversal back to the upside, and you're still an inside 2-week. So maybe we can get a CCRP on the 2-week chart if we close green on the 2-week candle. So this would be a potential swing for me. Let's see if we can close strong on the month. Next after Pepsi is going to be Target. Really liking Target. Inside week break, either a 2-1-2 up or a 2-1-2 down. You are an outside 3-week and you're a 3-1 on the 2-week. So if we were to trigger a 2-1-2 reversal back to the upside, you have a potential gap fill play to the upside, and then you could possibly trigger that 3-2 up on the 2-week and that 3-2 up on the 3-week. And you got a nice gap fill play all the way to what, 156? So let's see what they want to do with that. But of course, if they're selling this, you would look for a potential 3-2-2 back to the downside on the day. But right now, you are full-time for continuity to the upside. After Target is going to be Eli Lilly. Shout out to those of you that took the trade on Friday. You did have a nice candle and we did get that gap fill tapped into. Right now you are at 3-1 on the week, setting up for either a 3-1-2 up or a 3-1-2 down. You did trigger outside 3-week. So I like this for a potential 1-3-2 up on a 3-week chart, and you got a potential CCRP potential to the upside. So let's see what they want to do. If you were to trigger a 1-3-2 up on a 3-week, which would also be a 1-3-2 up on a 2-week, then you have the potential to trigger a 2-2 up on the 5-week. So you got a lot of like TMG potential in this trade. So let's see what they want to do with Eli Lilly. I'm really liking Eli, and if they really go crazy, maybe even out potential outside month. But well, I don't know if they want to do that. We'll see. And then after Eli Lilly is going to be SO. So some utilities exposure, outside day, inside 3-day, you're a 1-3 on a 3-week chart. You triggered a 1-3-2 up on the 2-week chart. So let's see if they still want to continue buying utilities. You'd be looking for a potential 3-2 up on the day to possibly get that 2-2 continuation on the week. That can trigger the 1-3-2 up on the 3-week chart. Okay, and then after that is going to be Autodesk. Autodesk, you have a potential 1-3-2 up on the 3-week chart, and I really am liking Autodesk for either side, but I kind of have a bias to the upside because I do like these gaps to the upside, and you are kind of poking through a trend line right here. Yeah, you broke this trend line. So let's see, is this a failed breakout then to come back down, or is this actually a TTO back up? I like the bullish side, but we know tech jam-packed earnings this week. Tech's volatility is going to be high, but really liking Autodesk because I do like that 1-3 on the 3-week chart, possibly setting up for a 1-3-2 up. All right. And last but not least is going to be UNH. UNH, full-time frame continuity to the upside. You are at 3-1 on the week, possibly setting up for a 3-1-2 up or a 3-1-2 down. If you were to trigger a 3-1-2 up on the weekly chart, that can trigger a 2-2 continuation on the 2-week, which would just trigger a 2-2 continuation on the 3-week. So you have gaps on both sides right now, full-time frame continuity to the upside, but let's see what they want to do. Really liking this inside week. All right. So these are going to be a couple of tickers that I'm going to be looking at. Don't forget earnings this week. We got a lot of earnings that you got to pay attention to. So let's see what they want to do with that. And we know we got FOMC on Wednesday with Jay Powell speaking. So it's going to be a volatile week. And for those of you that are new to the server, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Really appreciate you all for being here. And make sure to stay tuned for more trading insights. You all have a wonderful week, and I will catch y'all later. Bye now.